Three. All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for real people just like you right there, just like me right here. And you're going to notice somebody else here today, all the way from the beautiful country of Ireland, where the pubs are the best. My good friend Darren from Sleeve Saturday. What's going on, Darren?
Greetings, Dave. Greetings from the Emerald Isle. How are you keeping, mate?
Yeah, well, top of the afternoon to you, I guess, right? Yeah, sorry. So today, Darren and I have decided to talk about the new Journey song. I did a video about it. Darren, I think, did one video about it as well. So we both kind of covered it individually. Darren's got all the music and the cool special effects, and I'm just sitting here, blabbing. So, Darren, let's get your first take. What did you think when you first heard The Way We Used to Be?
Yeah, well, look, I do all the videos, all the special effects, and that. You do your thing, Dave, and you do it well. 40-odd thousand subscribers speaks for itself, so there you go. Good stuff. And what did I think? I liked it, and I liked it off the bat. I liked it straight away. I don't know what your feedback has been like through your Patreon subscribers, but mine has been a little bit mixed in my comment section. I would say mixed is in terms of more good than bad. So there's been a little bit of a mix in the comment section. But for me, I liked it up front. Felt very, very kind. For me, I felt it was that keyboard opening. Then you have Arnell bursting into life. You've got Neil Sean's guitar coming in. We incorrectly said in my video, which I'm a bit annoyed about. But it felt like Frontier's Journey to me personally. When I first listened to it, and I instantly put on again, and this is Frontier's Journey on my first and second listen.
Right, and you and I, before we started here, I've got the shirt on because we're about to celebrate the 40th anniversary of what I believe to be their best album. You are a Frontiers guy. The people out in we'll call it the corporate media, they tend to like Infinity the best. Anyway, I think this song does probably model more of a Frontiers sound, which is fair because it's bigger. There's a lot of rhythm section there, which right off the bat you hear those two new members doing their thing, and they're having an impact because the sound is a little bit more muscular. I was actually almost surprised by how muscular the sound was. It wasn't real airy. It was a little bit more compressed. The beginning, as you say, the keyboards I love. And if there was a critique of this on the keyboards, I would have had a more vibrant keyboard sound throughout the track. But as we know, Journey has had historically a lot of great keyboard intros to their songs. What's your take on that?
Yeah, one thing I actually did want to bring up very quickly with you, and I wanted to get forward, because before I forget it, actually, what did you think of the cartoon music video? I want to get that because I'll forget to ask you, and I want to know what your thought was on that. Because I'll be honest, I don't know where I'm at with cartoon music videos. It's okay. I just wanted to get that very quickly.
Well, it's good. Thank you for bringing that up. Couple of points. I did do a specific video about just their video. Okay, so I'm doing a video about their video. Long time ago, I suggested, and I have to go back to the archives, that Journey do an animated video for Don't Stop Believin', since they don't have a performance-based video for that song. They have Steve Perry's live performance in Houston, I believe, is the sort of the benchmark for if you're going to look that up. And by the way, it's a mind-blowing live performance of the song. But, I was thinking like Jeff Lynne did this version of Mr. Blue Sky. ELO did this nice animated video. I think the Beatles, not that they're all here, but their estate and Ringo and Paul decided to put together, I think, a partial animated video for at least a few of their songs. And they do enormously well. So I'm thinking from the standpoint of, you don't have to have the band members together, and you're not going to get the band members together because, obviously with Steve Perry not in the band. So my opinion on the idea is it's a good idea. I'll be honest with you, I was very disappointed though with both I guess the level of animation in this video, and also at the beginning of the theme of the video is basically it's a lockdown, and these two people are now separated, okay, and then they get back together again at the end, and they attend. It appears that they're attending a Journey show at the end. They see the band. It's kind of cute at the end. I liked it overall, but I was left feeling like, okay, this was last year's news, and obviously I have a theory on that too. Is that this was all in the can last summer? The song was done in the summer. And because of everything continuing on the way it continued, they couldn't release it until a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of mixed on the animated video. I think it's going to do well for them. It's about 274,000 views last time I checked. I'm a geek on that stuff, so I'm just trying to see how well it does. However, I've seen similar videos, released and do a little bit, we'll just say they did a little bit better out of the box than that video did. Also, the song is uploaded to YouTube and the Spotify and the various places that probably taking some views from the video itself. But overall, I would say if I was rating it from 1 to 10, I'd give it a 6.
I'd agree. When I released my video the day that the song came out, and I've had a little bit of a change of heart about the video. I did say that I was all right with it, but the more I've thought about it, the more I've looked at it, again, this was quite an instant video. The animation is quite quirky, but I don't know. I'm probably a bit lower. I'm a 4 or 5 on it now with you. Than you. I would have preferred something like what they done for the UNICEF performance. Maybe something like that. Maybe maybe the squares, maybe so. I know that they couldn't get together. You're talking, it was last year's news. Absolutely correct. It was probably put together during the lockdowns. Arnell, as we know, has been in the Philippines most of this time, so they weren't going to get into the same room. But if they could have done something similar to the UNICEF video, albeit with a little bit more over the top of it, a few more graphics, a few more whatever. But the more I watch the video, the less I like it at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's kind of the theme of this song. When I heard the song before I saw the video, because I think, well, they had the little snippet of the song out a day before, and then I think the first time I watched it, I just watched the actual song. On YouTube, you can just listen to the song, and I didn't know about the video yet. And I was thinking before I figured out what their theme was in the video, that this might be like a song about the way the band used to be. That's what I originally was thinking, that, hey, we want to go back to the way we used to be, right? Now, where was the band, how many years ago? And I would think of a video, and I bet you Arnell would be fine with this because he's just so humble and easygoing. Yeah. Imagine showing vintage clips of the band in their heyday, and I'm sure they have all kinds of archival footage that they could have dug up for that. And rather than having it this scary lockdown, can't reach out to my girlfriend theme, imagine if they had done that, where they went back. Because Darren, whether we like it or not, most of the Journey fan base is stuck in the Frontiers era. They're stuck in the Escape era. They're stuck where Steve Perry was. That's kind of where they're stuck, and I think that thing would have went through the roof if you had nostalgic footage set to this new song, which is basically saying, hey, it'd be cool if we could get back to the way things used to be.
And intersplice it. Yeah. Intersplice it with new footage. So the old band, the new band, the way, because you're hitting the nail on the head there, because I did call it out as well. As it's very interesting that it's your first song with your new lineup that was announced over a year ago at this point. Right. And you're titling your new single with a new lineup, The Way We Used to Be. That to me was quite a strange choice for a band who's trying to go forward, and a band that is anchored by the shadow of Steve Perry. I mean, any comment that I have, you can't go 3 or 4 comments on my video without Steve Perry being brought up. Whether it was we got to move on from Steve Perry, or whether it's no Steve Perry. He is a shadow that lingers over this band. So when I was talking about not the cartoon video, maybe something else intersplicing, I think that's a great idea that you're saying, is in blend if you're going to call your first new single with a new lineup the way we used to be, blend both, splice both together, show the old but show the new as well. I would have preferred that as a music video.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you could have done too is like you could have had someone shoot Arnell's vocal parts, like when he's doing his vocals in the Philippines, right? You could have roll the cameras, right? And that way you have his live vocal where you can go back to, that way you get sort of because Arnell, by the way, lays down a really good vocal on his track. There's no two ways about it. Whether you like Arnell, you think he's not as good as Perry. However, that's a separate video, and you and I have already kind of covered that. But what's interesting is that intro where Arnell is doing that whoa, whoa, whoa part. Yeah. He's killing it there. He's like, I'm really gonna go after this. And that's a Steve Perry kind of opening that you might hear that if Perry were in his prime, that's the way he would sound. Now, quickly addressing the Perry issue, isn't it amazing that no matter what this band does moving forward, it's always gonna go back to Steve Perry. And I've come to, not that I'm upset about it, but I tend to get, and people know, I tend to get a little irritated about it because Perry's, and we know, and I think you said in your video too, Perry's not coming back. I mean, I had people on Patreon saying to me, you think this is it? I mean, I did a nice video basically saying, you think Journey's trying to coax Steve Perry back with this amazing rhythm section? Well, maybe, but he's not coming back. He's been really quiet the last few months. If he's working on music, he's not letting anyone know about it, and I haven't heard anything, and we'll see what happens there. But there's no way that Steve Perry's going to want to go to Lollapalooza and show up and do a concert. So he's never ever. I know you get a lot of mileage out of it with your subscribers. They love it. They love the speculation over it. I love it. I watch it. Anytime I see a video of yours, I watch a lot of your videos, but anytime I see one of Steve Perry in it, I'm clicking because I'm interested. But I'm also, and I love the romance of it, but he's not coming back. He's never coming back to the band. It's not going to happen. And I'm friends with another YouTuber as well, and he's made a very good point that sometimes you got to accept it that Arnel Pineda is a better singer for Journey at this point. In 2021, he's a better singer for them. I mean, Steve still sounds great. I think we're still here is just a beautiful, beautiful song. I love the video, but the cadence to Steve's voice is he's a man in his 70s. It doesn't sound, he couldn't do it anyway. Even if he wanted to do it, he couldn't do it. He wouldn't sound the way Arnel does. And I think it's a very good point someone else makes is that Arnel is a better singer for Journey in 2021 than Steve Perry could ever be at this point. He couldn't deliver the same what's the word I'm looking for? He couldn't deliver the same material that Arnel can now anyway. And one point I did make in the video was, I don't think that Arnel is ripping off Steve's sound. I mean, you could go back to what Jerry, then you could say he was doing it too, but I don't think Arnel is ripping off Steve's sound. I think this is just how Journey sound, and they have done since 1977, whether it's Steve Perry singing it or whether it's Arnel. That's the sound of Journey. That's how they're supposed to sound at this point. That's their voice, and whether it's Perry doing it or Arnel, it really doesn't matter at this point. That's just how this band sound, and it's how I want them to sound. Good point. You really good points. The thing with the Perry fans is that nostalgia tends to outweigh the reality. You know what I mean? It's when a group shows up at a concert and they have a singer who replaced the other singer, and it could be any band, and they're like, okay, so where's so-and-so, right? Where is that person? And that person's retired. They can't sing anymore. You know, whatever the reason, they're not here. They passed away. That's another one. And you're thinking to yourself, well, you can't bring that person back. You can either live in the past, and you can. I tell people, go grab your DVDs, go grab your CDs, whatever it is that you need to do. YouTube has plenty of footage. If that's where you want to live, fine. I mean, there are people that won't go see Foreigner because Lou Graham's not in Foreigner, even though he showed up for some gigs a couple of years ago, and that was good. I love Lou. Lou doesn't have the range that he used to have. And Kelly's been in the band now for a very long time. And there are some people that just, they won't accept it. And because for a number of reasons, Darren, this is like, when you live through this, you're thinking, and you know it's true, this was the best. Steve Perry, Journey, 1982, done. You know, that's it. That's your bucket list. I went to a concert 40 years ago in August where I saw Journey on the Escape tour. I've seen Journey since then. Nothing compares to Journey on the Escape tour. I enjoyed the other concert that I got to go see. I mean, it was Def Leppard and Journey, so how do you not enjoy yourself? But
wow.
Yeah. But the point, that was 2017. But the point is, you can't, you know, you make a great point. You just can't go back and fix what can't be fixed. You know, this is a reality. Like, okay, I know you're expecting, or even if, and here's the other thing, you said that Arnell's doing his own thing. He is, but there are guys that do the Perry thing, right? And I'll hear it. Dean Castronovo, I think, is very close to Steve Perry. Hugo Valenti is very close to Steve Perry. And you'll hear one of their songs, and I'll tell people, this is really, oh, no, it's really not. I'm like, but it kind of is. I mean, this is the other thing I run into is that, you know, so it's Perry is a bit of I'm just going to say this, and I hope I don't make people angry, but, you know, Perry is a bit of a cult of personality at this stage because he is an enigma. He was in music, he left music, came back to music. I've done all the videos I can possibly do on these topics. So fans, there's a special place that these people have in their heart for Steve Perry.
Yeah, and it absolutely. And you know what? I can understand it because I'm one of them. Yeah, 100%. But at the same time, I think me and you and tons of other fans are able to get on board with the fact that this is a new take. It's not even really, it is a new journey now that you're adding Narada and Randy back into it. But the trio, you know, Jonathan, Neil and Arnell, they've been there for so long now, 2007, the three of them specifically. It is a new take on Journey, but it's also, it's been around a while at this point. And I'm okay with getting on board with it. Eclipse was a little bit hard for me, but you know, I still get on board with new music with the band.
Right.
Having said all that, you mentioned Dean Castronovo.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the backing vocals in this, because a subscriber sent me a great video of Dean years ago singing Suzanne from the Raised on Radio. I don't know if you've seen that video of Dean singing that. You probably saw it live. I don't know. Dean is just unbelievable at anything. Read Mother, I know he does Mother, but that version of Suzanne he does is just so great.
Yeah.
Where are you now that we've seen him and we've seen Narada now? We know where he's at. Personally, I think Narada's great producer. Great. I'd still love to see, we're harkening back to old, but I'd prefer Dean in there than Narada just for the voice. But where are you now that you've seen Narada in practice? Where are you at with him?
Well, you know, Narada is he's a different kind of drummer. Here we go again. And you hear it in this track. There's a certain, you talk about cadence, there's a certain style. Steve Smith had a very different style than Castronovo. Castronovo was your purest, and some people disagree with me because they think Steve Smith and Montrose, Steve Smith and early Journey. Steve Smith is like his own little orchestra. Basically, he can go around, do all these different things. Dean Castronovo, even though he doesn't like this label, because I know he's a pounder, and he's a pure rock drummer. Yeah. He can do the big stuff, and he can do the little stuff. He can do this subtle stuff, but if you want some octane, you go. Dean is the guy to bring the octane home, you know. But Narada is somewhere different. Narada is funky. He's a little progressive. So he's a little bit like, I think Steve Smith said he was a huge fan of Narada Michael Walden at one point, even well before he left the band. And Dean loves him. So if Dean likes him, Steve likes him. And, you know, obviously the music industry for many years touted him not only as just a great drummer, but also I think he plays keyboards. I think he does all kinds of stuff. And obviously a great producer, great musician. I need to hear more. I'm not trying to skirt the question, but I think I need to hear more, because if they're going to stretch out, which Neil says they're stretching out, then I want to hear the bass and drums together with the new guys. I want to hear the rhythm section, and then Neil noodling and playing over that rhythm section. Because Darren, this may be like off the charts. This may bring us back to, like the pre-Perry era of Journey, where they're all just jamming out and doing all this funky jazz fusion stuff. By the way, the fans of today probably aren't going to like that, but my guess is they'll do that on a couple of tracks, and then they're going to go back to the template that most people are familiar with this band. I don't, Neil, as much as he probably wants to, in a way, he's never going to abandon what happened when Perry joined. You know what I mean? He's not going to abandon that era. It took him a while to warm up to it, but once the revenue stream started, would Journey be like a jam band today if Steve Perry didn't join? Don't know. Would they have broken up? Would the record label have booted them? Don't know. The point is that he owes a lot of his success to that newer sound and that more pop oriented, if you want to call it pop, but just melodic sound that the band adopted when Perry joined.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's expand on that a little bit around the actual sound of the song, because you've talked in a number of videos of that album behind me there, the Raised on Radio record, where, Randy did come into the band. We've talked about it before, went in that, as you're saying, went in that funkier direction. I was really pleasantly surprised with this, and I was happy with this new song, The Way We Used to Be, that it didn't sound too much like that. I was a little bit concerned with Narada and Randy in the band, and it was going to go a little bit more in that funkier direction. To me, this sounded like I know what you're saying, like soft rock, pop rock, AOR kind of sounding song. It didn't sound in any way R&B, which I was a little bit concerned, not overly concerned, but I thought it might happen with the inclusion of them two members into the band. Yeah. Thankfully, it didn't happen, and that made me happy. Where are you with it sonically?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the song is kind of muscular. It's that dun dun. It just has this sort of kick to it. Again, I want to hear it in context with the rest of the material and kind of evaluate the production value, when I hear the entire record or more songs. It does kind of split the goalposts, to use a bad analogy, where it's got a little funkiness to it, but it's between Neil, a little bit. I would say it's. I know you're thinking it's a straight up, and it does have a lot of rock elements, but the way the bass and drums interact, I think it's punchier. It's got, how Raised on Radio, they just went, because that's Steve Perry just saying, I want to do an R&B record. And the production value, plus it's the 80s. Now, it's not the 80s anymore. So they left, I think what they did here, Darren, is they left off some of that 80s. There's no sheen to this record. There's no, you put it on, you hear all these, keyboard sound effects and stuff. That's why the keyboards are buried a bit in the mix. But if the keyboards were out there after that intro more, I think you'd feel a little more of that R&B presence. But I think it's a funky rhythm section, but as you mentioned, they didn't overdo it. And I want to hear it on other tracks. I think this is almost like a straight ahead rock song. With a punchy, I'll call it punchier. I won't call it funkier, but it's definitely a punchier rhythm section. There's a big difference between, and I'm not saying a good or bad thing. I'm just saying it's a big difference between the Ross Valerie, Steve Smith rhythm section. And you go back and listen on Eclipse, and it's there, and it's not, well, actually Eclipse, I think, is Dean. So it's Dean and Ross. And that's a different sound too. I mean, all of these guys bring a different playing style to it, and Narada is pretty unique. I think Narada is closer to what Perry would want, like the late, was it Larry London? It's a little more like that than it is anything else, if I were to evaluate it. But we'll see what the rest of the record sounds like.
Yeah, I got some feedback, just getting into it in terms of even the lyrics to go with it. Where are you on the chorus? Because I had some people come back to me on my video saying that isn't a sing-along chorus. I don't feel it. I think it I like, to me, I think that's I could see myself at a gig and that being played. Can we ever get back? And I've got a beer in the air and I'm singing that out. To me, it is a sing-along chorus. I'm all right with the chorus. I don't really know where people were going with that.
I think it's again, this goes back to what people are used to. I mean, again, if someone wants to go back to the last album, Eclipse, and find me a whole lot of big sing-along choruses, you're not gonna find them. It's been a long time since Eclipse, and a lot of people weren't really into that record. So this, I think, again, sort of splits the goalposts again. It's a chorus, and it's not this big cascading. And this might have to do more with production. It also might have to do with what Neil's vision is for this group. I think he wants to maintain sort of the power, like what Jonathan Cain said about Eclipse. He said, well, if you like Journey, this is Journey with army boots on, and I think Neil doesn't want to take those boots off. He wants to keep them on. And the first single, he wants it to be out there representing what, the rest of this record is going to sound like. Now, I can guarantee you there will be a ballad on this record. I can almost...
Good.
I would sign the check to say I was wrong, all right? But I can guarantee you there's going to be at least one ballad on this record. So for the Journey fans, I think at this stage in their career, why not represent everything we've done? Why would we just try to make a record like, I don't know, Escape, even though I would be okay with that, but Escape again was a good representation of music with rockers and ballads, but maybe not the super syrupy Open Arms kind of thing or Faithfully kind of thing, but there still could be something that's closer to that. I do think that they want to try to take a stab at radio here in the States, at least on adult contemporary stations that are traditional. Do I think they'll get there? I have my doubts. There's been no, there's been no buzz about this song on radio anywhere that I can tell. I was going to
ask you that, Dave. I was going to ask, what's the airplay like over there, even on contemporary stations? Is it getting any time at all?
I've looked up charts, brother, and I know you have to have, like, I don't subscribe to Billboard or anything like that. If I'd have to pay monthly or something, and most of the music, I would just be looking at this going, who are these people, So I'd be scanning, trying to find if anyone added the new Journey record. And so far, I haven't seen anything on any of the charts that I can get access to. Now, it takes a week or two, especially if it's going to climb into, say, the top 40. Say they added it and it's number 65. I'm not going to know. I'm not expecting a lot. The song would fit in on, I think it would, some people have told me this song would fit in fine over at Mainstream Rock. And it kind of would. I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, they played Ghost at Mainstream Rock a couple of years ago. So, but there's two bands right now there's Greta Van Fleet and Dirty Honey. Those are the only two bands that I could tolerate on Mainstream Rock. With a couple, I don't want to be too general, but it's really just a wasteland. I would be very depressed, and that song would elevate the melodic quotient of that radio station just by being there. And for some reason, programmers, Darren, they're not there. They don't want to do that stuff.
Well, look, we know that they're not going to get played on mainstream radio. We know that they're certainly not going to get any real play on even MTV's satellite channels or whatever. The way they have different channels outside of. Unlikely on any of that. I would love to know what their predictions were going to be for their YouTube views. I wonder if they're on track for what they thought they were going to get, or if they're just behind, or they're just ahead. What do we say? 250,000 views, I think it's sitting on at the moment.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's in around where they thought they were going to get, because that's where they're getting this music, other than Spotify, let's say, because no one's buying anything these days. But unfortunately, I still buy my vinyls. We know that. But YouTube is kind of their way of getting the music out as well. I wonder if they're within their parameters of what their predictions were for it. I hope they are. I'd love to see it have 1 million views, but
like I said, if there's a ballad that's out there that's been recorded, I would actually throw that out there next, because here's why. Because the traditional Journey fan, even though they're not going to gravitate to Arnell like they used to gravitate to Perry, Arnell, some of his strongest moments are singing ballads with this group. And in general, there's a group of fans that expect them to have an Open Arms or a Faithfully or whatever on one of these records. Revelation, they had a song that eludes me right now because I'm old, but they had a ballad that got airplay, really got adult contemporary airplay. Delilah, who is a syndicated host, was playing that song on her show every night, which was just weird because, and she was even talking about it. She wasn't actually just talking about all of the people with all their personal problems. She actually mentioned, boy, this new Journey song, people really want to hear this track. And I remember listening to it going, wow, that was a breakthrough in 2008 or whatever it was. But Darren, I don't know, man, things are just, they're different now.
Absolutely. You know what? I would sum up the song to say I'm happy, and I'm excited for the album. Hopefully, I've said a number of times, hopefully they don't pack it. Give me a 10 or 12 track album. I can't be a boy. Styx's new album was 15 tracks, I think. You know, just give me 10 or 12 songs. I'm happy with that. Give me a bit of a flow, throw in bits. Actually, one last thing I'd say is I wouldn't have no problem if they threw in a one deep track with Jason Derlatka on lead vocals. I actually wouldn't mind that. I'd like to hear that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if you obviously have seen some of his stuff, his videos on YouTube that are just meticulously produced and arranged, and he's from that group of like the second generation of like those Toto guys, you know. So I thought that was a good hire when they brought him on. You know, was it Travis Thibodeau was the guy that he replaced, and he was pretty good too, but Jason is kind of like your backup vocalist in a bigger way. If Arnell has a rough night, you know, he can, I think he could probably get in there, probably stay on keyboards and just do his thing. And people would probably, they'd notice because there's no lead vocalist out there, but I think he could hold it. He can handle it. He's that good.
I'd give him a track on the album, Dave. I'd give him a track on the album. Bury a track somewhere, deep track if you want, whatever. Put it as track 11 of 12 if you want, but I wouldn't mind just hearing one song off him for the album. I'd be cool with that. People would be up in arms if they're barely just accepting Arnell. They'd probably go nuts at that. But I'd be kind of okay with that. You gave Ross a song at one point.
Yeah, with not so good results. I mean, that was the generation. I have that album. I ordered it just because I wanted to have it because it's almost like it's a souvenir, and it's some interesting stuff on there with all these different singers. But to wrap up here, I would just say that, you know, this is a good song. It's not a bad song. Could it be a better song? Sure, it could be a better song. Could it be more like the Journey of the past? Yeah, but this is 2021. So this band, hate to use an album title here, but there's been some evolution here, and these guys will continue to evolve. I'm wondering what they're going to call the album, Darren. I wonder what the name of the album is going to be, because apparently they have gone back to the one-word titles. So I'm wondering.
Well, they have for the last 3 or 4. They have for the last Eclipse. What was before Eclipse?
Generations.
Revelation.
Generations. Arrival. I remember with Steve Aoki.
Yeah. So since Perry, they had the 2 albums, didn't they? With the Trial by Fire and the one before it.
Perry hated the one-word title.
Hated the one word. I hope they bring back one word. What would it be? You're asking me, what would it be?
Yeah.
It's a very good question. That you put me on the spot now with that.
Restoration.
Maybe. Yeah, I like that.
Restoration. Although it sounds like a construction company, so I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, it is a bit. I'll tell you. I'll say this. I can't come up with anything particularly witty right now to what it would be. But I would like it to go back to or keep on that one word motif. I think it works best for Journey. It's kind of their thing.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm with you though, Dave. I'm with you. Could it be better? Any song could be better. Everyone once they put that song out there could say that. I'm happy and I'm excited for what's to come on the album.
All right, man. As always, great conversation with my buddy Darren. Darren, what's your channel for my audience here? We want to get you up to I don't know. You need 10,000 subscribers at least. So let's.
I need 1,000, Dave. I need 1,000.
All right. Well, let's
if I get the 1,000, I'll be happy. My channel Sleep Saturday. I do very similar content today, but I do reviews on some other bands as well. Dave might not be too excited about. I know you give out about Harry Styles. I think he's good. I think he's a modern rock star. I've reviewed him a couple of times. But in general, I am that AOR melodic rock, soft rock guy. I talk about, even right down to, I've no shame, I'll talk about Michael Bolton, Richard Marx. Cool. I'm cool with talking about them kind of artists as well. And then sometimes I'm in the slipstream of Dave's videos where my video gets recommended off the back of one of Dave's. Check it out. But appreciate you having me on again, Dave. Good stuff.
Hey, anytime, brother. Stay, I guess, sober over there in Guess you can't go out.
Impossible. All
right, man.